You're here to learn some of my Leopard secrets. I'm going to try to save you the trouble of buying the book and hauling 900 pages home because I'm going to tell you some of the coolest tips and tricks in Leopard. So Apple said that there are 300 new features in Leopard. In general, that's correct. However, Apple is among them, counting like each new screensaver as one, and I kid you not, the Russian spelling checker as one. And I made fun of this in my New York Times review of Leopard. I said, you know, and by the way, Apple is counting the new Braille font and the Dutch spelling checker as two of the features. Of course, I hear from 6 Dutch people who are like, "What? I've been waiting for this forever!" You know, I'm like, oh, you can't win. When you write for the New York Times, this is not a joke. The New York Times, the newspaper, gets 400 letters, the paper kind, a day. Like, you should know that when a semicolon follows the parenthesis, the quotation mark goes inside. It's like, oh my God. Americans have way too much time on their hands. And for me, it's even worse because I'm writing the technology column, right? So I'll say, you know, I got a new mouse pad today, and I swear to you God, I'll get email that says, "What are you, in bed with the mouse pad industry? You shill? You on the paycheck?" And it's like, oh my God. Okay, so there are, in fact, 300 new features, and as happens every time when Apple comes out with a new Mac OS X, I find that they overplay some of them and don't mention some good ones at all. So I'm going to show you some of the good ones that Apple doesn't mention at all. Okay. Wouldn't that be hilarious? So this is very minor, but very cool. In the Finder, there are now 4 different views. You can get to them by pressing Command 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's icon view, list view, column view, and the new one, this is the cover flow view. Steve Jobs has done a perfectly adequate job of explaining this. But all of them now have a much better view options dialog box. That's Command J for view options. And they're different for each view, and there's some really great stuff in here. First of all, they no longer default to changing the changes you make to every window on the computer. Yay, they reverse the logic. So now I'm changing the icon size only for this folder. Anyway, so the cool thing about this is for the first time since Mac OS 9, you can now, of course, you can change the background color or picture, but for the first time, you can now adjust the grid spacing. You can fit so much more. Thank you, my feature. Yes, the David Pogue feature. You can now fit so much more. And look at that. I mean, you can, oh yes, D.G. That's my daughter. Yeah. So you can have great control over the grid spacing as well as the icon size. And what's worth noticing is you can do the same thing on the desktop, which gets really useful if you want to, you can make it look like almost anything you want. And what I like to do is to put the icon labels not underneath but to the right, then make the grid spacing tight and make the, well, maybe not that tight, and make the icons small. So basically I have on my desktop this handy little small icon list view. It's very, very cool. The Command J, which both produces and dismisses this dialog box, is also profoundly useful in column view because unlike all other versions of Mac OS X, you may notice that they're always alphabetical. You've never been able to change to sort by date or by size or by kind. Now you can. There are no headings up here like in other views, but Command J, look at this, arrange by. I can now see my icons in a column view by size order or in date order. That's a first. That has never been in Mac OS X before. So Quick Look is a way to see inside a document without having to open it and wait for the application to open. They give you 9 different ways to trigger it. There's an icon up here where you click this and that opens the Word document. There are various keyboard shortcuts listed up here like Command Y, but nowhere is it written that the space bar is another way, and so much easier. And it's so brilliant because, except when you're editing a file name, what are you doing with the space bar? Nothing. It's the biggest key on the keyboard, and it's totally wasted until today. And it's absolutely wasted on everybody else's operating systems too. So it works with pictures, PDFs, text files, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents, V-cards. Oh, this is cool. It even works with fonts. So I can highlight a font. This is totally undocumented. Hit the spacebar and get an instant display of what that font looks like without having to fire up any program or anything like that. That right there is worth $7 of the book's $21 price. But I'm not here to sell books. I'm just saying. So it's phenomenally useful, and it's also got these variations that are really cool. So look, that's a Photoshop document. Even opens up Photoshop, V-cards. So there is a full screen mode, and most people hit the space bar, want to see a better look, then they hit this button to get the full screen mode. You are all wasting your time if you do that. What you should do instead is just Option-click this button up here. It changes to a play button for some reason, but it goes directly to full screen mode. So that's a handy tip. Another one is if you highlight more than one picture, let's see here. All right, if you highlight more than one picture and you hit the space bar, you get a slideshow, a self-running slideshow. You don't have to do anything but sit back and enjoy. I'm still enjoying this one. Option click. Oh, here we go. All right, so now it's off it goes, and you can of course use the. These are my kids. This is why you like to have a digital SLR camera instead of a pocket camera, because those moments will never come again, and you want these pictures to look as great as they can. My daughter is twice that age now. She'll never look like that again. I'm twice that age now. So anyway, so if you wiggle your mouse, you get these options like next and previous. You get this one. Yeah, my wife was pregnant. That's why she's always hiding behind one of the other kids in the pictures. So if you click this one, you get an index sheet of everything that you highlighted. So you can sort of look through them all at once. And if you, so you click the one you want. And then this one takes whatever you've highlighted and adds it to iPhoto for you. This one exits the full screen and hits spacebar again to close it up. So I can't tell you how often I use this thing. Quick Look is the main reason I'm stuck on Leopard, because it works in the trash. You know, you're about to empty the trash, you give it one last look. The heck is that? Spacebar. Oh yeah, I don't need that. Or yeah, I need that, and you rescue it. So fantastic.